labours and eventfulness of the last number of years to keep it on the road and to bring it to fruition. And certainly the attendant presence of our Blessed Lady, her graces and her maternal care has really brought about extraordinary things here at Radio Maria. It's quite miraculous in its own way. So do please get in touch with us. It's our Mariathon, and today is the feast day of Our Lady. We're inviting you, as she gifted herself as the handmaid of the Lord, that you might gift something to us here at Radio Maria by way of a gift to her. And again, recognising all the funding we receive here comes in the door and back out as rapidly as it comes in meeting all the costs. We do have our beautiful calendar available, and I tried to argue with Sarah not to put me on the front again, but she says, no, you're staying on it. So anyway, you won't be looking at me from January to December, so that's fair enough. So do please let us know. If you're not on our database, we'll happily send you a calendar. We'll be sending them out in bulk in the coming days. Please go out to anyone who's listed on our database, and if for any reason you want more than one calendar, let us know and we'll send that out separately to you. But that's our little gift to all our dear benefactors and friends, and thank you to all who so kindly donated so far for our Mariathon. The amount has reached €7,000 so far. Thanks be to God. Very, very grateful to you, and putting a target there, 50,000 to help cover us over this month and perhaps into the new year as well. All kinds of dreams and hopes and plans. So now welcome to our guests. John, thanks for joining us today.
Morning, Father. Good morning, everybody.
Busy man.
Morning, Mark.
Has a busy life going on and sees so many fingers and so many pies, but is very generous with his time here with us at Radio Maria. And Mark McDermott, of course, too. You're very welcome. You had some good airtime now yesterday too.
I did, yeah. Mary was slagging me big time about that. She said it was supposed to be our vocation story. She said it was your vocation story. So apologies if I went on too long. I suppose I get very, very, very excited about, I suppose, just looking back at our lives and sort of seeing how God has worked wonderfully in it.
Thanks be to God. Thanks be to God. Yes, we'll give Mary her own special slot, maybe. She was a Radio Maria widow, I think, for a while in the early years, so she's entitled to it.
She was.
Any few thoughts maybe to bring us back on some of the early trials, tribulations, and joys?
Yeah, I suppose just thinking back, I know people describe me as the first president of Radio Maria, but that's not true. Just going back over the notes, there were a number of presidents of Radio Maria Ireland before I came along. I think there was Maura McGrath, there would have been Fiona Loxley, and there was our own Mary Fitzpatrick as well. And just looking at the history and you spoke this morning during your sermon about, I suppose, uniqueness and your vocation, and the uniqueness of every single person. I suppose what they can bring to spreading the word of Christ, and you can only do that where you are, where you're based. If you're based in Ireland, you're not going to be sort of trying to sort of necessarily catechize somebody over in South America. You've got to do it in your own family, in your own area, your own locality, your own parish. And I just look back at, I suppose, the incredible effort that these people made, and it was effort without any gratitude or any thanks, because it was just constantly kind of push back. I can only sort of put it down to, I suppose, the power of prayer, power of other people's prayer, that they kept going, and no matter what trial came the way, they just kept going. It started, I suppose, with a Salesian priest. Now, it wasn't Father Michael Ross. It was a priest who would have originally been, I think, from Italy. He had been based in Ireland here for a little while. He sent the first letter, I think, to Italy, and the word family hadn't even been established at that stage, but he was familiar with Radio Maria Italy at that time. And then it was Gabriella Scarano then about a year later, and she's come back from Medjugorje, where she had been in conversation with Father Slavko, and I think she was inspired then. Again, she knew all about Radio Maria Italy and was very, very much inspired to try and get it up and running here. So she would have made contact with Emmanuel Ferrario at that time, and then you have this succession of boards of Radio Maria. So you have the actual sort of organisation itself. I suppose Radio Maria Ireland Limited was really only set up in around 2000. So that's really the first kind of legal entity, and then after that you know, you have these boards trying their absolute best. They're coming up with absolutely fantastic plans. You know, they're sort of making applications to the Broadcasting Authority of Ireland, well, its predecessor, I should say, trying to get a license. For initially, it was a medium wave license, and then it was an FM license. Unsuccessful on both of those
for years, banging the head off the wall.
But it was their work actually that Father Michael Ross and myself and Terry O'Neill then, who we were subsequently invited onto the board, I suppose it was their work really that sort of led to us being able to use the work that they had put together, the proposal that they had put together, and I'd say we were able to use about 65 to 70% of that when we were making our application to the Broadcasting Authority of Ireland. Technology then had moved on quite considerably, so we weren't as reliant on an FM license. We were, you know, apps were starting to come into play, and then you had DAB as well, which was very, very much in its infancy in Ireland at that time, and unfortunately no longer really exists anymore here. Despite the fact it's very, very strong in Europe and very, very strong in Britain even.
Well, in the north, and we're hoping indeed to capitalise on that availability in the north too.
So it was that, and it was Terry O'Neill as well, and you know, coming back to people like Maura McGrath, who would literally have been the first president. Then you had Fiona Loxley subsequently at a later date. Fiona, you know, it's interesting, I think she had made contact with you, I think, Father Eamonn.
Back in 2011.
And she'd also made contact with Father Michael Ross at some stage as well, and I would have known Fiona as well, but wasn't aware of the work that she was engaged in with Radio Maria. But as I say, she knew Terry as well, Terry O'Neill, so she was quite sort of instrumental in bringing quite a number of people on board who actually helped to make it happen, if you like. And it was Terry's incredible technical knowledge that I suppose really helped us to see that there was another way around the problem of getting Radio Maria on air. And I suppose that's where, when, you know, Father Michael Ross, you know, explaining yesterday that Father Michael, you know, was the main celebrant at St Mary's on my wedding, and he contacted me a number of years later, just totally out of the blue, just asking, you know, would I get involved in a particular project. He didn't want to discuss it over the phone. He came down to our house and we discussed it, and himself, he invited Terry on the board as well, and myself, the three of us, and then, you know, Mary Fitzpatrick, a number of the former board members also stayed with it. And it was really that sort of kicked the whole thing off. And I mean, we had a heck of a job trying to find a location for Radio Maria Ireland. It's fascinating just looking back over the notes. There were significant, I suppose, feast days associated with Our Lady that actually sort of, you know, were markers in the success of Radio Maria. You had the Broadcasting Authority of Ireland. We had made an application to them for a DAB licence, and also for satellite and cable in case we ever need to go down that route. And that licence came through on the feast day of Our Lady of Sorrows in September. So we were kind of saying, well, you know, it was far from sorrowful. We were absolutely thrilled. We were over the moon. I mean, we really sort of couldn't believe it when we got the license that time. And then, you know, we you know, the day that Father Michael sort of contacted me about this particular building here in Ballymount Road in St Anthony's Business Park, I had been in the church down in Eden Quay, and you know, I had been sort of praying before the relic of St Anthony. Which, you know, the National Shrine there in Adam and Eve's Church, and we had visited umpteen premises, none of them suitable, and then sort of, you know, I'm literally walking back to my office, and I get a phone call from Father Michael. I think we've got it. And that particular day, I didn't realise until just again reading through the notes, that was the feast day of Our Lady of Fatima. So and then a year later, we were actually literally sort of opening the station on the same feast day. So, you know, Our Lady her hand was there right along the road.
Sure, yeah. And during that time, Father Mike actually invited me out here. I was visiting the Legion, I think, at some point, to see the place under construction. And I had no concept of where it was going or what direction it was going. But he was very enthusiastic about the whole project. And that's when I came along day one just to help out. I was only just on the periphery somewhere. But I had that instrument back in 2011. It's interesting how everything sort of is interwoven. And we went to Fiona Loxley, myself, and Donald O'Sullivan Latchford. We headed over to Eindhoven, over to Holland, just to see the setup in Radio Maria there. And it's fascinating, just mind-blowing at the time. Like, could this be possible? And I have to pinch myself every now and again here to realise that So humongous work really gone into the pre-history and the pre-development of the gift of the radio today. And Jonh, you've been wearing the mantle now for 3 years. How does it feel? Is it as heavy?
Well, there's been a fair bit of a learning curve, if I can say that, in the last 3 years, but it's been a magnificent experience to be even part of it. 3 years ago, I'm delighted that Mark was able to fill us in, because there's a lot of information there that I wasn't even aware of. But when we started here 3 years ago, we were pretty dependent on, we were still dependent on the word family. And we were really only getting to grips with getting the word out there that Radio Maria was actually up and running, and that all this magnificent work had already been done, thanks to Mark and the other people that he spoke about. So we really walked in, the first stage of the development of the radio station had already been successfully completed. So the next stage then was to try and, I suppose, make the assets sweat, if I can put it that way. Well, remember that one. I think over the last 3 years we've effectively done that to the best of our ability. But can I just say, and not to get to me, we can all sit. I'm the president now. Mark's the former president, whatever it is. And I think Mark alluded to this in what he was talking about, that all the important events happened on feast days of Our Lady. Our Lady's in control of this. I've absolutely no doubt about that, and that's why she's using us as little tools to run around and to make sure this is done and that's done and the other thing is done. We've accepted that responsibility, and once we accept that, I think then things start to happen as well. So it's just amazing to be sitting here. This is 2022, as you say. I'm here for the last 3 years. If you had have asked me 3 years ago, would we be in this position today? I would have said, not at all. Are you must be joking. I don't even think that 3 years ago we envisaged a situation where, number one, the listenership would have been anywhere near what it is at the moment, which means that number two, that the grace that has been manufactured, let's say, just from sitting here in front of a mic in West Dublin. Mark said that we always had this thing that to evangelise, we could only evangelise at home or our families and our parishes and all the rest of it. Now we're actually able to sit here and evangelise all over the world, which in itself is an amazing concept, for anybody. But to think about about what we have actually achieved and what we have yet to achieve, and that's that's the for me, that's always the most important thing. This is not a job where you can sit and rest on your laurels. You've always got to be thinking of where we go next, and you've always going to be trying to figure out what are the obstacles, let's say, or what are the opportunities that are being presented. And I've found over the last 3 years, it's as if somebody has you by the hand and just leading you along gently along the way. And if I can just refer, even the impact that other people are now realising that we're making to the faith, let's say, in Ireland, and not only in Ireland, but as I say, all over the world. There's people now coming to us and saying, look, listen, I think the next stage of your development should be whatever, A, B and C, and they're people that we should be listening to. So that's where we are at the moment. We spoke downstairs. I'm saying, where are we going to be in 12 months time? And I would really like to think that in 12 months time, again, we've moved on and we're much more part. When I started here, I said, it would really be fantastic if Radio Maria became part of the DNA of being Irish. And that's part, of what I think we should, everybody who lives in this island should know that we exist, should be given the opportunity to tune in. Well, they've given that opportunity, but should be, they should be coaxed to move, to tune in and to see, again, and you're going to laugh, the word I use is the value that we bring, because the value that we bring in today's world is peace and love. And that's sadly, and you alluded to that in your sermon this morning, that is something that is sadly missing in the world today, is peace and love. So, and it's God's peace and it's God's love. So, if there's people out there, and we all know them, there's people who are suffering, whether it's through war or, war in the family, war with themselves. The number of people who are at war with themselves, it's incredible. through illness or mental illness or addiction or whatever it is, the answer is here. And that's what, that's, if you're asking me, why am I looking forward for another 12 months? Maybe not as president, but as just be involved here. Well, then it's to help people and to reach out to people and to bring Our Lady to those people as well, so that the world becomes a better place.
Mm-hmm. And just echoing that same idea, but reflecting a little back towards our dear listeners and friends, because without the immense cooperation of many, many people now, and a growing body of people, just as in the early days, a small group faithfully hanging in there, meeting the opposition, meeting the burdens and the obstacles. Even today we're seeing it, a marvellous group of wonderful, committed, faithful people, and everywhere we go we're meeting listeners just enthusing, and it's thanks to you and your prayers and your promotion and your financial assistance that are enabling this to really take root. And not just say in Ireland, as you say, John, because I had a conversation yesterday with a man from Scotland. Tony Vernon is his name, an engineer and involved in radio himself, but he wants to establish Radio Maria in Scotland, to the Gaelic Scots. And we had a great conversation. So gave him some of the insights and some of the things he needs to be doing, and he's works in and around London. So I told him to visit the studio in London, and he'd be welcome to come visit us here, and put him in touch with Raffaele and Bernard in the World Family, and away we go again. So it's a kind of again, Our Lady's just like, okay, we're ready for this, we move this way, and things just happen which are quite extraordinary. So again, the fruitfulness of all that hardship and work kind of just overflowing in ways that we could never have envisaged. Amazing. And you've seen it, Mark.
Yeah, I mean, again, just going back to those early days, I would say pre my time, again, it's just beautiful to I suppose, just the persistence, the faithfulness of the people who were involved, that they just kept it going despite there seemed to be absolutely no hope. So, that's probably worth the programme, maybe if a number of the people who were involved at that time, just to sort of get some sort of an insight into that. One of the things, I suppose, as well, that I love, will say, when I'm listening into Radio Maria, I'm sort of listening to, the listeners are actually sending in feedback, or they're looking for prayer. And there was one a few weeks ago really sort of struck a chord with me, a woman called Anne. And she was she either typed in or phoned in just to say that she was suffering from dementia, and she could no longer remember the prayers of the church, the prayers that she had sort of grown up with, but that Radio Maria was now her lifeline, that Radio Maria was effectively praying for her, and that she's praying with Radio Maria. And those kind of stories just really sort of hit you right in the heart, because it just shows the value of what Radio Maria does and how important it is to our listeners. So just to encourage Anne and people like Anne, just continue listening to Radio Maria. As I say, we're a family. It's the Radio Maria family. So, and people living alone as well. That quite a number of texts and comments come in from people living alone, and they speak about how much Radio Maria means to them. And as I say, I just always sort of feel, gosh, they're not alone. They're sort of part of our family. So it is a beautiful gift. It's such a wonderful gift that we've been given.
It is, and we've seen one or two doors gradually opening in prisons too. Jeanette Healy, if I can give her another shout out, really doing work from home, contacting all the prison chaplains. So we've had an invitation to bring some calendars over to Arbor Hill. I hope to meet the priest, the chaplain there, and into Midlands Prison in Portlaoise, again to just deliver some calendars and an invitation to speak with some of the prisoners too. So again, possibilities and avenues that it's like, the image in Scripture, Peter was in chains in prison, the angel came in and just dropped the chains and opened the doors, and away you go. It's that sense of that gospel opening of doors, and extraordinary grace is flowing, So John, you're no pressure as the current president, but as you say, we have been getting great endorsement from many quarters, and our visits to the bishops recently have been quite fruitful, and they're very much in favour of the work we're doing, and I think they're anxious to see us build and grow a bit more and kind of get on the team a bit in that sense.
And again, this is one of the benefits of working with Radio Maria, because you get to meet people like we met Archbishop Martin, and I can honestly say, I've said it to you downstairs, it was the best meeting I've ever had. And You
go to a lot of meetings,
and I've been to a lot of meetings. Yeah, it really was. It was like as if. It was as if he had a big signpost in his front room saying, "This is where I want you to go, lads." And it was actually quite humbling. I thought it was quite humbling to sit there and to realise that he was actually putting a lot of faith in us. Just in the work that we were doing. He saw the radio station as a real vehicle for the evangelisation of Ireland, if I can say that. And I hope we don't get a phone call in 5 minutes and go, I know, I never said that.
Or we fall flat in our face.
Fall flat in our face. But it was absolutely brilliant, and I'd like to thank him. And it was the same, I've met with the Bishop with Derry, Bishop McDermott, and obviously great supporter of Bishop Fonzie in Waterford. What we're seeing is, or what I'm seeing is, the spirit is definitely moving in Ireland. There's a real hunger, and for the faith. And as I said initially, I think people are coming face to face with decisions that they've made. A lot of people were, they've made the wrong decision effectively, and we now have leadership. We know we've got the leaders in the church who are going to point us in the direction where we can actually reach out to those people and to bring the peace and the love of Christ to them. And obviously for here it's through Our Lady. It's the Jesus through Our Lady. I think that's really what our pathway is in this one. But I was delighted, to come back. I was delighted to come back, to and having met the bishops. We met a few more, as you know, and everywhere we go, it's an open door, and it's like the first thing they'll say to us is, "Thanks for what you're doing," and you're going, thanks to us. I never thought I'd be in a situation where where a bishop would be thanking me for doing something for the church in Ireland, and I quite honestly say, don't be thanking me, because all I'm doing is repaying a debt. It's as simple as that, because if it wasn't for my faith, I'd be lost. So that's and that's just being honest about it. So it's great that we're there. It's, as I say, where do we go? And the number of challenges that the church have today. The big thing is to identify them and to try and figure out how we get past them. And we know that we have serious problems with our youth. With the uptake in the faith, and not only the uptake in the faith, but the absence of the faith and how that's affecting their lifestyles and how it's affecting their decision making process, because they're making decisions about their life, but they're not referring to God first. And when you don't refer to God first, the chances are you're going to make the wrong decisions. And sooner or later you'll come face to face with that. And I think that's what's happening now with a lot of the young people, that they're not actually thinking for themselves. Let's say the weight of the peer pressure is making them think in ways that, let's say, previous generations didn't. And we're seeing the fruits of that now, if I can call it the fruits. We're seeing the results of that now. And I pity a lot. We meet a lot of young people in our work on the streets, in the work with young people who have addictions, that type of thing. And it's really, really sad, to see where this type of thinking can lead people. And it's the old, I suppose it's the old adage: if you turn your back on God, you expose it to your enemy. And I think one of the first things, and this is not to scare people, but I think one of the big things is that people here have lost the sense of sin. We've lost the sense that we all have a spiritual enemy, and and once we've lost that spirit, or that thought, actually, we sort of open a door, to things that maybe that he is are suggesting to us, and then we realise that we're in deeper than we want to be, and that's we're at the point maybe where we don't know how to get out of it ourselves, if I can put it. I see this all the time with young people who have an addiction. People start off with a take a bit of that, it's fine. That's not going to do you any damage, and before they know it, they're in the grips of an addiction and they don't know how to get out of it. And I'm quite happy to say that as far as I'm concerned, the only way, it's just, to me, it's a proof. The only way that you can actually turn your life around in those circumstances is to turn to God, is to turn back to God, and to allow Him to deal with it, because we just don't know, we don't know how to deal with it. So to me, it's just one example of how there's things that will affect all our lives, where we make the wrong decisions, but only God. To me, it's the best proof of God, that only God can actually allow you to change your life around, and and to live a happy life. And that's the big one, like a happy, contented life. There's very other paths. Like, let's just take the experience of addiction. We'll say to you, you can stop taking whatever it is, but you're not happy. And that's where God comes in. It's the point where you can actually do that, and you can do it, and you can live a very happy, contented life. So this is just one of the things that we know. It's a proof of what we're doing is the right thing, and we just need to keep on doing it, and to try and reach as many people as we can. Like that's one of the things. Hopefully, in the next 12 months, we can actually concentrate on, is to try and reach our youth, our young people, or our people in their teens, their 20s, their 30s, whatever it is, just to bring that faith back into their life, and and just basically get rid of the chains that are hanging off them at the moment.
Mm-hmm. Very good, and all under the auspices and with the gentle guidance of Our Lady, giving it that little maternal touch. So listen, we'd love you to be part of the conversation. If you want to text in or email in or phone in, please do so. Even if you're watching back or listening back later on, by all means do. So our numbers here, 014123456 +353 if you're in the north or further afield, 14123 089 467 2000 for texts and WhatsApp. Again, +353 89 467 2000. Email info@radiomaria.ie. And because this is our Mariathon again, just sharing with you the tremendous value and blessings and gifts of our radio ministry here, and all the marvellous work that is bearing such great fruit, and that we wish you to be very much a part of, because every one of our dear listeners and friends is also a promoter and an evangelizer, and the radio hopefully is an instrument to give you courage and formation to continue doing that, or maybe to begin doing that in earnest as well. We're going to pause for a little piece of music. We'll be back to Mark McDermott and to Jonh Carlin, president and ex-president, directors of Radio Maria, so my bosses really. I have to have my shoes. I have my shoes polished today. So do stay with us, and do text us, do email us, do phone up. We'd love to hear from you. This radio station belongs to you. We are at your service. So a little piece of music, Nuria, and we'll be back very shortly.
My 'Cause my soul rejoices in God, 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 my so We are hosting our next coffee morning here at Radio Maria on Thursday the 8th of December. That's on the Feast of the Immaculate Conception. It's from 11 a.m. and you are all invited. It's a great opportunity to see what goes on behind the scenes and to meet the staff and presenters on the day. If you're unable to attend, why not host your own? Coffee mornings are a great way to raise much needed funds for our mission here at Radio Maria, which is to bring souls to Christ. Events such as these will help keep Radio Maria on air. If you have any questions, call us on 014 123 456. This is your radio station. Be a part of it.
Oh, thanks to Eamonn O'Callaghan. She's a great voice. She came in there with her dad, Matt. He lives over in Kingswood, and his grandson, or her son as well. And we were doing a jingle with her son, and then she kind of stepped up to the microphone, and she's got a terrific voice. We've got to get her back over. She's a
natural
voice-over potential there.
Yeah.
And we discovered that here in Radio Maria, you know. People come in who might otherwise think they, you know, have no business in a radio station or at a microphone, and all of a sudden, they're flying it. No bother at all. And with a bit of practice, then they warm to the microphone, and it's as if we're speaking with friends. So it's
I was listening to George and his granddaughter Erin the other night, and absolutely wonderful. I mean, Erin, first time ever in a radio studio, and just came across so natural. Lovely to hear your young voice, and it was very, very kind of like a family type scenario, but it's lovely, really nice.
And that's the nature of the radio here. It's no pretensions to sort of audio, whatever. I don't want to dig a hole for myself now here, but we try to be as professional as we can, certainly, but without all the polish, the spit and polish that might be demanded of more secular commercial type ventures. Just bring ourselves really to the microphone. So onwards into the future, although Mark, you made a point off air there just about what John was saying about the importance of prayer, and like it is essential to our ministry and mission here. But you met Pope Francis in 2018 as part of
2012 actually. 2012? We went to Colla Valenza, which was one of the, I think is it by our triannual meetings, I think, of all the Radio Maria stations around the world. As
early as 2012.
Yes, I think it was there. I think it was there back then.
Or 18.
Oh, maybe. Sorry, you're right. Sorry, it was. Yeah, that's right. It was later. That's right. Probably about 2016, maybe something like that. But we sort of there was a visit included in that trip to the Vatican, and Pope Francis spoke to us that day, and it was lovely just to sort of get that audience time with him, I suppose. The group of whatever 250 people or 300 people that were there. And one of the things that he, and I say we can all get caught up very, very much in, building radio stations and the technology and new technology, and where and we have to look at that. We have to be practical. We have to sort of do those things. But he was trying to draw us back to what's really, really important here. He said that while all that is very, very, very valid and very important, the most important thing to remember is prayer has to be the source of everything. So go back to the source. So keep praying. Make sure that prayer is the essential element of what you're doing in the Radio Maria stations. And I think just yesterday when Mary and myself were speaking about our vocation story, one of the things I just mentioned there to John and Father Eamonn was that I was in a very, very difficult place, kind of back in sort of, I suppose, the late 1990s, and it was my mother who sort of realised I wasn't sort of talking to anybody, I wasn't telling anybody what was going on in my life, but my mother sussed, as mothers do, tend to suss these things, that there was something seriously out of kilter, and she contacted my sister Breed over in Lebanon and said, Breed, look, I think Mark is in some kind of trouble, or he's things aren't right with him, and would you start a novena with me for him? And my sister Breed, absolutely fantastic. She's a powerhouse over there. Incredible woman of faith. And she said, yeah, absolutely. And said, who are we praying the novena to? And she said, well, it's Padre Pio. I said, now I don't know why it's Padre Pio. I said, because I don't have any particular graft for the man. Is exactly this. I found out all this later, but I don't have a particular graft for him. But she said it has to be him. And as it turned out, literally within sort of 3 days or so of them starting that novena, my life absolutely took a significant turn for the better. Which I put down to all that because the person that was put into my path was a woman of remarkable faith, and who I met through my journalistic work. and it was an interview that I did with her. So she kind of steered me in the right path. And then subsequent that same year, Saint he wasn't saint at the time, but Padre Pio was beatified on my birthday that year. So it was literally sort of within such a short period of time that had an impact. And the reason I'm sort of saying that is that, prayer is just so important. Don't give up. You've got family members. We hear so many stories of people in trouble, people in difficulty, or young people in difficulty, as John referred to, addictions, turning away from the church, whatever. Prayer is the key. Prayer is the key, so just don't forget that. Don't give up. Again, it's coming back to what we were saying earlier on. The number of people here that sort of never gave up on the vision for Radio Maria here in Ireland. It had to all come down to prayer, the power of prayer, and just asking Our Lady then just to be with you right every step of the way. And don't give up hope. Just stay trusting. That's what I would say.
Thanks, Mark. Yeah, some lovely messages coming in. Thanks to Gabrielle and Breed Mary who are watching on Facebook, saying well done. God bless all who work in Radio Maria and all the listeners too. Mina sent a text in. Congratulations on all the great work. It was during lockdown I got to listen and connected in, and she's been in touch with us since. And just something you were saying there, John, maybe you might like to expand on a little bit, and in the context of prayer and the overall sense of the value of Radio Maria too. A listener who says, my first time listening today, wonderful interview with your president. I'd be interested to learn more about how Our Lady can help me with, as he mentioned, war with ourselves. I love my faith, but struggle very much with love of self. So it's a very honest text. Thanks, and great to have you listening. And isn't that a little bit what we're about, I think, John?
No, absolutely. I think a lot of the problems that people are experiencing today is that there's so many distractions out there, and there's a lot of confusion. And what you'll find is that a lot of the reason or the philosophies that we have at the moment are conflicting. It's all about going into battle against somebody else. So let's say you have a certain opinion about something, so you have to find somebody that you need to address your anger at, or the attrition, or whatever it is. But for me, what true Christianity is that you've got peace, and I said it initially, there's peace and there's love. So what you do is you give all that to God, and He gives you back the peace, and He gives you the love. And it's for your listener, and this might be above my pay grade, but what I do in these circumstances, I just go back straight into the surrender novena. If that's of any help to the person who's just texted in, you can go online. You'll find that the surrender novena is powerful. So there's people who are suffering. They don't know the way forward. It's as I say, they're really fighting with themselves. So really, what you're hoping is you can get out of your own way. Because very, very often, our biggest enemy is ourselves. Mm-hmm. And the way we perceive other people, and there's and the way we react to other people. Let me put it that way. So if that listener would like to go to the computer, tap in Surrender Novena, download it, and just take the next 9 days, and come back to us in 10 days' time, and just see, if this. No, I'm serious. And see, very concrete. And see if that has made a difference to their lives. Because I'm fairly certain, and I'm not a prophet. Okay, I don't claim to be that, but I'm fairly certain it will have made a huge impact on the way that you behave. So what you're doing is you give it all to the Lord. You give it all to Our Lady, and say, look, listen, I'm making a bit of a mess of this. Can you sort it out for me? And there's I can promise you this, and Mark has just given a bit of a talk there about his own experiences. I'm fairly certain I've had similar experiences, and I'm also very similar. I've had similar reactions, or very sure, that have a similar reaction. So that's where it's at, and this is what I think the modern world has forgotten. That the people who we talked, Father, you even mentioned the word value. I'm delighted, and I think Mark, you did as well. They haven't converted. This is what this is what the modern world doesn't give you. It doesn't give you peace, and it doesn't give you love. Okay, what it gives you the tools to get in your own way. If I can just repeat that, and But what Christianity does, what the church does, the Catholic Church, it frees you from all that burden. It frees you from all those chains, and that you begin to live life. You begin to see with clarity. You begin to see exactly what it is that you're called to do in this life, because everybody has a purpose while they're here. You know, like there's a job for every single one of us to do for the Lord. And at some stage when we are all departing this world, you know, we'd like to say, well, here's my exam results.
Hopefully they're good. That's like my first leaving cert.
Did you do honours? Did you do honours? So no, but that's I'd just like to give that bit of advice. If that's
and we've only a little bit of time left. I might just add to that too, that especially for this listener and all our friends, you know, prayer opens up the channel of grace and the channel of communication, and it begins to take us out of the habitual self-love that we find ourselves drawn into. And add to that a visit to a priest in confession. I'm always at it here, but we'll never stop. That opens up another channel of grace that goes above and beyond, and it maybe prayer gives us the courage to do it. To say, look, I'm a mess, I can't cope, I can't do this, I need your mercy. And with that, then we begin to step out of confession, deepen our prayer life, and then start to roll up the sleeves and be merciful ourselves. And that's the root of self-love. We uproot it, and we turn it into something much more creative and fulfilling and life-giving. You know. Our time has escaped us. It's been far too short. We have to do this again, or we have to make more time for these kind of conversations. So thank you so much, Mark, for joining me today.
Thank you very much. And just one word that comes to me that Father Jamie said about in a recent sermon about Pope Francis in St. Peter's Square. Somebody shouts up at him, "There's no one like you, there's no one like you," and then Pope Francis shouts back at him, "There's no one like you, there's no one like you." So to that listener, please remember, there's something very, very beautiful waiting, within you. So you just to find it, locate it, and confession is the key, because that was very, very much part of my story as well. Confession, a very, very deep confession, really sort of changed my life.
For us all, for me too. Yeah. So John, thank you too.
Thanks, Father. Thanks, Mark.
Thanks a lot, John.
And thank you, if I may, in public with all our dear sister friends. Thank you for all of your labour and voluntary giving of your time and energy and your talents. Excuse me, to the blessing and gift of Radio Maria. So well done. Appreciate very much all the support, because it can be tough out there sometimes.
Thanks, Father. Thanks for everything you do.
Well done.
Fantastic. Thanks a lot.
We shall pause. Do please stay with us. We're going to bring it into our visual elements now on Facebook and YouTube. But again, do drop some comments and likes there if you wish. Please remain tuned in and join us now for our Angelus and Midday Prayer.